Black Ops 2 Zombies is interesting. You know, following the Moon Easter egg and its conclusion, BO2 was kicked off with the Victus storyline. In Transit, Nuketown, and Die Rise Buried would soon follow. However, just before that, Treyarch took a sharp turn and released Mob of the Dead, which was bizarre at the time. The first 3 Victus maps were received very poorly, and zombies seemed to be rapidly declining. But then stepped in Mob of the Dead, the savior of zombies. Before this map released, a lot of people were on the fence, similarly to now with BO4. People contemplated, do I want to continue playing this DLC cycle? I mean, Transit was absolute hot garbage. Nuketown was fun, but primitive and lacked any real depth, and Die Rise was a very polarizing map as well. A lot of people seemed to enjoy it, but an equal amount of people seemed to dislike it. Mob of the Dead stepped in and immediately dismissed any and all doubt we had about Treyarch zombies moving forward. We knew with this map we had received a masterpiece. And later, of course, we would receive Origins. This new story, this new premise story, flipped the game mode on its head and did a complete 360. We went from a controversial, unpopular Victus storyline to a new and exciting premise storyline, all in one game, and the 2 storylines intertwined made BO2 so interesting. The first 3 maps, collectively, were some of the worst we had ever seen. However, contrastly, the last 3 were some of the best. I mean, Mob and Origins are unquestionable top 5s, and Buried, despite being a Victus map, was also incredible. Mob of the Dead is not only my personal favorite map, but also happens to be, in my opinion, the greatest zombies map of all time. Now, of course, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. We're all bound to disagree, we're all different, and there is a case to be made for a lot of maps out there. Certainly Origins, Der Eisendrache, Garad Krovi, Shadows of Evil, whatever name you want to throw out there, there was likely a case for it. But in my eyes, Mob of the Dead has the crown, and a lot of you seem to agree. I ran a poll asking you what your favorite zombies map was. Thousands of you voted, and Mob of the Dead had the highest percentage. Origins is right up there, 1 or 2% behind. You guys can still vote in this poll. I'll put the link in the description. In this video, without trying to copy Nick Zaru's, I'm going to plead my case as to why Mob of the Dead is the greatest zombies map of all time. If you do go on to enjoy this video, whether you agree or disagree, show your support, leave a like, man, and subscribe. You are not going to want to miss the next episode. We are going to be covering Buried, and I can't wait to see you there. Let's talk about Mob. It all starts with the Prohibition era, the 1930s, the illegalization of alcohol, the distribution of it, the purchasing of it, the consumption of it. Crime in America was rapidly increasing. It had reached levels the likes of which we had never seen before. So much crime, in fact, the prisons were being filled. More space was required, which is when Alcatraz prison was created. This prison held the most infamous of criminals, including Al Capone, Machine Gun Kelly, no, not the rapper, the actual, original Machine Gun Kelly. Alcatraz held the worst of the worst, and oftentimes prisoners who attempted to escape other prisons. And in our Call of Duty universe, this prison would soon hold 4 of the most ruthless, cold-blooded criminals. Sal DeLuca, the mob leader, heavily involved in gambling, prostitution, and the distribution of alcohol. Sal led an entire empire right under the nose of the cops. Below him was his henchman Billy Handsome, who of course took care of the dirty work. Sal rarely got his hands dirty. Billy committed the murder. Along with these two was Michael Finn O'Leary, a gambler, a guy who dealt with the money. And to top it all off, another money handler, a con man, was Albert Arlington, aka the Weasel, a man who could con you out of your very soul. These mobsters would make life for the police excruciating, but eventually their crimes would catch up to them, and they were sent to the Rock, Alcatraz prison. It's all very fascinating to me. Treyarch created 4 characters based off of celebrities, I may add. Characters we were not familiar with, characters we had never seen before or had a reason to care about, and made them not only instantly likable, but also in some ways relatable and understandable. We understood these characters and the era they were in. And even with the very little background knowledge we have of these characters, we were able to piece together a general understanding of their lives. We are living in this era through these characters and get a sneak peek of what life was like on Alcatraz Island. These 4 mobsters, this cast, clicked. It just clicked. It's honestly a remarkable feat by Treyarch. Introducing a new set of characters in any television show or video game is always difficult, but somehow we were able to latch onto them so easily and so quickly. I think it has a lot to do with the simplicity of the idea. They're just 4 guys. Yes, 4 guys that committed brutal crimes, but they have just as little knowledge of what's going on as we do. They're not mad scientists or ethereal beings that we commonly see and can't relate to necessarily. And on top of being straightforward, simple, and easy to understand, they're also badasses. And all of this is even more fascinating if you're a history geek like myself. myself. I love learning about US history, and this was a major chunk of it. Reliving this era through these characters and through this story is awesome. We saw what life was like out there in Shadows of Evil, and we see what life is like locked up here in Mob of the Dead. These two maps together, this story, this tandem, it's remarkable. Having been locked up for quite some time, the four mobsters begin to devise a plan to escape the island, similarly to the real-life escape from the real-life Alcatraz. This is another reason why Treyarch nailed this map and nailed the Easter egg, because the Easter egg is based on a real-life event, a real-life escape. Of course, a warped version of it, a Call of Duty Zombies version of it, but nonetheless, a very similar feeling. Rather than building a boat and floating across the bay to escape like in real life, they gather parts and craft Icarus, a plane, and escape to the Golden Gate Bridge. And the best part about this Easter egg is the duality of it. There are two different paths. The cycle either continues or breaks in this purgatory. You see, the Weasel devises the plan. When things go south, when they aren't able to escape, the other three mobsters, filled with rage, bring him up to the rooftop and brutally murder him, and then are sent to the electric chair to be killed. When this happens, the cycle continues and they are sent back to the night of the escape to continue their eternal struggle. However, there is an alternate ending to this. To break the cycle, the Weasel kills the other three mobsters and gets to walk away a free man. This story arc does numerous things to the player psychologically that we probably don't even consider. First of all, it creates lots of tension between the characters, tension that we can feel, real conflict, and also it creates sides. It makes us choose a side, quite literally, either the Weasel or the other three mobsters. The duality of the Easter egg offers us choice. It allows us to pick who we'd like to side with. Mob of the Dead story is simply fascinating and captures everything a good story should have. It's got instantly likable characters, and amongst them both external and internal conflict, a relatable and understandable setting. It's unique, and everything is in and of itself a history lesson on top of all of this. In a vacuum, Alcatraz Prison, aside from all of this zombies nonsense, is already a very fascinating concept. And then of course you blend in the zombies in the game mode we love, it becomes twice as fascinating. Mob of the Dead tells a story like no other map, and its deviation from the standard traditional zombie storyline is also another reason to like it. It's sort of off to the side. It's a story within a story, and it's a singular experience, something that doesn't tie in with every other map. And because it's different and because it's unique, it gives us a breath of fresh air. And it also makes it easier to be a favorite. I'm gonna throw a random example out there. Shangri-La, right? It's a small component of a big ultimate storyline. Shangri-La is still many people's favorite map, but because it's blended in with all of these others, like Call of the Dead and Moon and Ascension, it's less likely to be a favorite. But because Mob of the Dead is so deviated from everything else and is also such a massive experience in and of itself, it is easy to like it the most. The story of Mob of the Dead is amazing. The atmosphere and the vibe of the map on top of this, Alcatraz Island in general, just the concept, fucking amazing. But wait, there's more. On top of this story, you have some of the best gameplay, if not the best gameplay, Zombies has to offer. You spawn in Afterlife. This gives you an immediate impression. An impression that you're in for a unique experience. An impression that you're likely going to be hopping back into Afterlife later onto the map. It gets you a quick feel. Before round one even starts, you're dipping your legs in the water. You're getting a feel. Now, Afterlife was a major innovation, a major change in zombies, and some people didn't care for it. But at the very least, Mob of the Dead didn't fail to acquaint the player with it comfortably. Of course, getting used to something takes a bit of time, but with Mob of the Dead's Afterlife, it didn't take too much. Afterlife was not only essential for the plot, but was also a very cool way of powering up the map. Instead of flipping one switch, we had to individually turn everything on. And with that, we actually had a choice as to what we could keep on or off. Mob of the Dead's Afterlife not only gets major bonus points for innovating, but also, once again, sets the map apart from the rest. When in Afterlife, you of course shock to power up, but you can also move quickly, jump far, and revive yourself. That's right. Every Afterlife acts as a self-revive. On solo, you have up to 3 of them and gain one every single round, which gives you, of course, more chances at life, which is a great compensation for no quick revive on the map. It only makes sense. It was a big change, and some people didn't like it. Some people preferred to flip one switch and buy quick revive and not have to worry about this big mess of Afterlife. But for myself and many others, this was a really cool and fun innovation. The best part about Mob of the Dead is you have so many different directions you can choose, so many different paths. paths. Yes, the ultimate goal is to get to the bridge and Pack-a-Punch, but there are many different ways you can go about that. Unlike a lot of other linear maps that push you in one single direction, this map offers many. First and foremost is the Warden's Key, but once you've obtained that, you can go any way you want. You can go through the cafeteria up to the infirmary, you can go down through the showers to the docks, or you can go up to the gondola down to the docks. There are essentially an infinite number of ways you can go. And really, there isn't one way that's better than the other, because Mob of the Dead's flow is second to none. Mob of the Dead is the best flowing zombies map ever. Period. The map is very balanced. Every area bears significance, whether it's a dog for the Hell's Retriever, an acid gat kit part, a shield part, a plane part. There is absolutely, positively zero wasted space on this map. Everything's important. Everything ties in beautifully together. Setting up on most maps usually consists of opening up a couple of doors and then flipping a switch. On Mob of the Dead, it's obviously a lot different. It's a craft that can be mastered. It's really hard for me to explain. Setting up on Mob is one giant free-flowing motion. It's just one constant motion through the entire map, just picking up parts, shocking things in Afterlife. Mob of the Dead is one of the very few maps that feels satisfying to set up on. It doesn't feel annoying or tedious. You don't have to wait for anything. There isn't all of these irritating factors being thrown at you. It's really all dependent on how efficient you are. You don't have to wait for elevators. You don't have to wait for a bus. Everything is dependent on you. And in my opinion, it is the perfect difficulty. Setting up on Mob is not easy, but it is also not hard. It's just something you have to get good at, like anything else. You just have to practice and become efficient. The primary focus of the map is collecting the plane parts so you can build the plane and get to the bridge. The plane parts are scattered very evenly across the map, so you have to open the entirety of it to get everything you need, which is actually a good thing because it's good to get everywhere around the map. It shows that every part of the map has purpose. While doing this, there are also 3 dog heads you have to feed zombies to in order to get the Hell's Retriever, a very good wonder weapon, and it is versatile. It does many different things. It collects drops by throwing it at them. You also can kill zombies with it, of course. You can charge it up for an even better effect. It's infinite. It just requires a recharge, which is great for ammunition. The Hell's Retriever is more than worth the process of getting it. It is well worth the effort. And then while focusing on these 2 tasks, there are a couple of other parts to be picked up. The acid gat kit parts, if you even want the acid gat, it's not even required. You can just Pack-a-Punch the blunder gat straight up and get the sweeper. And there are the shield parts. Now, it sounds like a long chores list. It sounds like a lot of things to grab, and it sounds tedious, which I guess is sort of true if you're the type of guy that likes to play Nocturne and Tow-In and open up 2 doors. But largely, it's a fair process, and you're not really going out of your way to grab anything on this map. That is the big thing here. You're never going out of your way. You're never really inconveniencing yourself to grab anything. Mob of the Dead does demand a little bit. It demands you to grab the plane parts to get Pack-a-Punch, and of course, Pack-a-Punch is a very essential component to the game, but it doesn't demand too much. It doesn't cross the line. Zetsubo no Shima is a great example of a map that slightly crosses the line. You have a long list of parts to grab on that map, some of which are pretty easy to grab, some of which are very, very tedious to grab. But on top of all of these parts, there are many doors, all of which are very expensive. There are thrashers constantly being thrown at you. You never really have enough points to get around the map. Zetsubo is a perfect example of a setup that crosses the line. Mob of the Dead doesn't cross the line, though. The effort it takes on Zetsubo no Shima, in my opinion, isn't comparable to the rewards you're getting, but on Mob of the Dead, they're more than worth it. All you're doing is focusing on getting plane parts and getting the Hell's Retriever. That's really it, and then you're grabbing a couple of parts on the way. But by doing this, you have an infinite damage wonder weapon, which can be upgraded later on to the Hell's Redeemer if you so choose. It's just an extra bonus thing. You now have another area of the map accessible, which is honestly a very good training area as well at the bridge. I know not everybody feels this way, but Mob of the Dead is the only zombies map I feel excited to set up on. Of course, on other maps, I don't hate setting up. I just would rather get straight to the gameplay. But on Mob, setting up is a craft. It's something that I actually enjoy doing for some reason. And when you're done setting up, the high rounds are some of the best zombies has to offer. First of all, there are so many badass traps on this map. The sniper tower, the acid trap, the blade trap, and there are so many good training areas as well. Of course, you have the bridge, you have the cafeteria, both phenomenal. If you're good enough, there's also the showers, there's also the rooftop. You can make a lot of things work on this map. There are so many choices. And speaking of choices, you got the blunder gat now. Which wonder weapon did you want? There are 3 Options. You can get the acid gat by putting it in the acid gat kit, or you can get the sweeper by directly pack-a-punching it, or doing both and get the vitrolic withering. It's sort of like having all of those different elemental wonder weapon options on Rising Drac or Origins, except you don't have to go on a quest to do it. You just put it in the pack-a-punch machine or put it in the acid gat kit. You can choose to get the Hell's Redeemer, you can choose to get the Golden Spork. There's a really good variety of perks on this map as well, one of which was introduced on this map, Electric Cherry. And the boss of this map, Brutus. He is a perfect zombies boss. He can punish you as much as he can reward you. He's mildly difficult and doesn't appear too often to the point where I get irritated. Sometimes I hate the guy's fucking guts. He walks around, locks everything up, and it costs 2,000 to unlock it. Very irritating. But on the other hand, if you kill him in a timely manner before he goes around doing that, you get a drop, oftentimes a very good one. And you get quite a few points as well, which is great for the earlier rounds. He adds a perfect minor chaos to the map. Not a major chaos that's probably going to kill you like a Panzer, a minor threat that you definitely need to keep in mind. You definitely need to kill him, but he's not in immediate danger. You can hoard him up with the rest of the zombies. He is manageable. Every aspect of the gameplay, both setting up and the high rounds, are fun and enjoyable, and not every map can say that. Some maps have either one or the other, or neither are very good. Mob of the Dead has it all, and have you ever seen a zombies map that has the story so intertwined with the gameplay? You are every time you go to Pack-a-Punch on the bridge, you are completing the plan. The story is being told directly through the player's gameplay, and when you get shocked and go back into Afterlife, back to the map, that is the player being sentenced to death and being brought back into the purgatory back on the map. The gameplay is directly correlated with the story, and again, not a lot of maps can say that. And the pure aesthetic of Mob of the Dead is nothing short of remarkable. It's one of the scariest zombies map ever because of the soundtrack, because of the way everything looks, of course, with the fire, the hanging corpses, the blood, all of the satanic references and references to the Illuminati. The map is genuinely bone-chilling, and it looks fantastic and scary, which is what zombies should feel like. I mean, look around you. You feel damned. You feel doomed. You feel hopeless. It's really horrifying sometimes. Mob of the Dead's atmosphere is second to none. It is truly a phenomenal feeling. Mob of the Dead has everything a good zombies map should have. It has an amazing, unique set of characters that tag along with a fascinating story at a fascinating historic location. It has a great variety of weapons, traps, perks. Setting up is exciting. It's mildly difficult, but not too much. It innovated in big ways, but also didn't change the gameplay too much. It still felt like classic zombies. It's the most balanced map ever, it's the best flowing map ever, and in my opinion, it is the greatest zombies map ever. Guys, I know a lot of you disagree, and I know a lot of you do agree. Either way, if you did enjoy, make sure to leave a like and subscribe. I would really appreciate that. Please go follow me on Twitter to keep updated with my channel and participate in polls and such. Also, my Instagram is down there. Definitely go follow me over there. Please let me know your thoughts on Mob of the Dead down below in the comments section. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Or did you feel indifferent towards it? Again, I like every zombies map, and I do have some very, very close seconds to my favorite mob. I mean, for example, Rising Drac, fucking love that map, but Mob of the Dead just blows everything out of the water, in my opinion. Anyways, with that, I hope you have a great day, and I hope to catch you in the next video. Guys, the next video is going to be enormous. Enormous. I'm talking a couple hours long, so I hope you're ready for it.